We often fear the breaking point. We dread the shatter, the fall, the failure. But what if I told you it's in the breaking that we finally discover what we're truly made of? A seed breaks to sprout, a dawn breaks to bring light, and a soul breaks to reveal its power. Today, we're diving deep into the beauty and power of breaking, because sometimes it's only through being broken that we finally become whole. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. We all crave safety, security, familiarity, the known. We settle into jobs that pay the bills, relationships that don't stretch us, routines that numb rather than elevate. We tell ourselves it's fine. We convince ourselves that peace is found in predictability. But deep inside, we know the truth. Comfort is a quiet killer of potential, and the breaking of that comfort is the first invitation to discover our buried courage. Most people don't move until life forces them to, until the floor falls out from beneath them. A layoff, a breakup, a health scare, a crisis. And in that terrifying moment of breaking, something else breaks free, the realization that we were never really living, just existing. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and stepping forward anyway. The first step is always the hardest. It's the step you take alone. The step that makes no sense to others. The step where you leave behind everything safe to chase something unseen. When we're broken out of comfort, we learn how brave we truly are. We learn how much strength we've been sitting on. We find out that we can do things we never thought we could, that we can live with less, love more deeply, risk more freely, and survive storms that would have once drowned us. A caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying comfortable. It must dissolve, break down, cease to be what it was, only in that messy, painful, transformational breaking does it take flight. The breaking of comfort may feel like loss at first, but it's the beginning of bravery. The courage we need isn't found in safety. It's born in fire. Pride is a shield we wear when we're afraid of being seen. It tells us we must appear strong, flawless, always right. It whispers that to admit weakness is to lose worth. But life has a way of exposing the truth, and sometimes it does that by breaking us. We fall. We fail. We are stripped of the titles, the applause, the identity we built around success, and suddenly there's nothing left to stand on but raw humanity. It is in those moments when the pride is broken that humility rises. And humility is not weakness. It is power under control. It is strength that no longer needs to be proven. We begin to see others differently, no longer from a pedestal, but eye to eye, no longer comparing or competing, but connecting. We learn to listen, really listen, not to reply, but to understand. We learn to apologize without defending. We learn to lead with vulnerability, not ego. Think of the most impactful people you've met, the ones who moved your heart. Were they perfect? Were they proud? Or were they open, honest? Humbled by life, we admire strength, but we follow humility. When pride breaks, we stop needing to be right all the time. We stop pretending. We admit that we don't have all the answers, that we've made mistakes, that we're still learning. And suddenly, people trust us more, not less. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of ourselves. It means thinking of ourselves less. It means showing up with our scars and letting others feel safe enough to show theirs. Pride builds walls. Humility builds bridges. Some of the most painful moments in life, the ones that brought us to our knees, were not punishments. They were invitations. Invitations to be real, to be reachable, to be rebuilt on something stronger than ego. We live in a world that says, look at me, admire me, follow me. But real power doesn't shout. Real power listens, learns, lifts others. So, when your pride breaks, don't rush to rebuild it. Sit in the silence. Let humility speak. You'll discover something sacred in that space, a deeper connection with yourself and with others. Silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is where our truth hides, chained behind fear, shame, or the weight of not wanting to be too much or too broken. We stay quiet because we don't want to rock the boat. We smile when we're bleeding inside. We nod when we should speak. We bury our stories because we believe no one will understand. Or worse, that no one will care. But silence is a prison, and the longer we remain in it, the louder the lies become. You're alone. You're weak. Your voice doesn't matter. Those lies grow louder in the dark. But the moment we speak, truly speak, something breaks. And that breaking is sacred. It's not chaos, it's release. When silence is broken, truth rises like a wave that cannot be held back. Speaking your truth isn't about shouting. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the realist. It's standing in the middle of your storm and saying, this is me, unfiltered, unpolished, unashamed. And when you do that, something incredible happens. Others begin to rise, too. Your truth becomes a mirror that gives someone else permission to face theirs. You stop just existing, you start freeing others by your honesty. Sometimes we think that being strong means staying quiet. But real strength is being honest. Real strength is saying, this hurt me. This is what I've been through. This is who I really am. We don't heal in silence. We heal in truth. And when truth is spoken raw, vulnerable, and trembling, it doesn't divide us. It unites us. So, if life has broken your silence, don't see it as weakness. See it as awakening, because that breaking, that moment when your voice cracked, when your walls crumbled, that was the moment your truth stepped into the light. Some dreams are meant to fly, others are meant to break. We don't like to hear that. From a young age, we're told to dream big, chase it all, never give up. But what happens when the dream doesn't work out? When we gave everything, believed with all our heart, and it still fell apart? The business fails, the relationship ends, the opportunity vanishes, and we're left holding the pieces of what we thought life was supposed to be. That's when the silence screams the loudest. Why did this happen? Did I waste my time? Was any of it even real? But here's the deeper truth. Sometimes a dream breaks so something deeper, something eternal can rise. Sometimes it's not the dream that was wrong, but the direction. And the breaking, that was a divine redirection. When the dream breaks, We are forced to look past the glitter of what we wanted and into the gold of who we are. It humbles us, refines us, strips away the ego, and reveals what truly matters. Purpose is not always loud. It's not always flashy. It doesn't always come wrapped in success or applause. Often, it comes in the form of quiet impact, in the silent ways we serve, in the people we lift, in the lessons we carry from what didn't work. Some of the greatest people in history, leaders, healers, artists, survivors, didn't fulfill their first dreams. They fulfilled their deeper purpose, but that purpose only emerged after the dream broke. It's in that breaking where we ask different questions. Not just what do I want, but who am I called to be? Not just how do I win, but how do I serve? And the moment we ask those questions, we tap into something more enduring than ambition. We find meaning. Broken dreams don't mean a broken life. In fact, they may be the very turning point where we stop chasing illusions and start living with intention. You might be grieving a dream right now. You might be in that hollow place where nothing makes sense. But that doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're being led. Through the ashes of what's gone, the blueprint of who you're becoming is being drawn. And someday, you'll look back and realize the dream had to break not to destroy you, but to uncover your real purpose, the one the world was waiting for you to finally live. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't just wound you, it reshapes you. A heartbreak isn't just the loss of a relationship, or a person, or a dream. It's the tearing open of the soul. It's waking up in a world that no longer feels familiar. It's the silence after goodbye, the weight of unanswered questions, the ache of what could have been. But as much as it hurts, it hurts, it also reveals something deeply sacred. When your heart breaks, your walls break too. Suddenly, you feel things more deeply. You notice pain in others you would have overlooked before. You stop judging so quickly. You start listening more gently. Why? Because now you understand. You feel. You've been there. The breaking of the heart is not the end of love, it's the expansion of it. Pain softens us. It makes us kinder. We start seeing people not as problems to fix, but as stories to hear. We hold space for others without needing to speak. We hug a little longer. We check in more often. We say, I'm here, and truly mean it. Some of the most compassionate souls on earth are not those who had it easy, but those who were shattered and survived. People who walked through the fire, lost something or someone they loved, and came out more human, not hardened, but humbled. Your broken heart is not your weakness. It's your gift. It's what allows you to sit beside someone in their grief and not look away. It's what allows you to say, you don't have to pretend. I get it. It's what allows your presence alone to be healing, because you carry understanding in your eyes. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who've been broken open and now bleed empathy. So if you're holding a cracked heart, know this: you're not less, you're more aware, more sensitive, more real. And it's in that realness that your compassion is born, not from theory, not from books, but from lived experience, from the pain that didn't break you, but broke you open. We all carry a script for our lives, an invisible plan of how things are supposed to go. the timing, the milestones, the rewards, the happily ever afters. We expect people to stay, efforts to pay off, timelines to be respected. We expect life to cooperate with our plans. But life doesn't always follow our script. And sometimes, the expectations we cling to must be broken for something deeper to be revealed. Surrender. At first, it feels like betrayal. You did everything right. You followed the rules. You prayed. You worked. You waited. And still, things didn't go as expected. And in that gap between expectation and reality, we feel frustration. We question everything. We try to fix, force, fight. But life has a strange wisdom. It will not be tamed by control. So it breaks our expectations not to be cruel, but to be kind. Because only when our grip is loosened can our hands receive what was actually meant for us. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving into the higher plan, the greater purpose, the deeper flow. It's saying, maybe I don't know the way, but I will trust the unfolding. It's letting go of the illusion that we were ever fully in control and finding peace in the mystery. Expectations are heavy. They burden us with timelines and outcomes. But surrender is light. It's the weightlessness that comes when we no longer need to force life to look a certain way. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen after expectations shatter. When the marriage ends and you discover yourself again. When the job falls through and a calling awakens. When the door closes and the open sky appears. We spend so much time asking, why didn't it work out? When sometimes the better question is, what am I being freed for? Surrender is not passive, it's deeply active. It takes strength to unclench your fists. It takes courage to stop pushing and start flowing. It takes faith to say, even this I give it back. Even this I release. And in that space of surrender, something miraculous happens. Not only do we discover a life that's more aligned, but we discover a self that's more grounded. We find patience. We find trust. We find freedom. Because sometimes the most powerful transformation doesn't come from getting what you expected. It comes from learning how to thrive without it. We spend much of our lives building an identity. We gather pieces from our culture, family, achievements, appearance, career titles, and even the roles others assign to us. We become what the world expects, what looks right, what feels safe, what earns praise. But then one day, something breaks. Maybe it's a failure so big it shakes the foundation of who you thought you were. Maybe it's a betrayal that makes you question your worth. Maybe it's a life transition that strips away the familiar, a divorce, a job loss, a health crisis, the death of someone you depended on. Whatever the cause, your identity crumbles. You look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself anymore. The version of you that the world applauded suddenly feels like a mask one you're no longer able or willing to wear. It hurts deeply because when your identity breaks, it's not just the outer world that shifts, it's your inner compass that trembles. You ask yourself, who am I if I'm not this? That question is terrifying, but it's also liberating, because in the rubble of what you were, you begin to discover who you really are, not the version of you shaped by pressure, perfection, or public image, but the real, raw, unedited self that's been waiting underneath. Authenticity doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't need approval. It simply breathes. You begin to speak more honestly, dress more comfortably, laugh more freely. You begin to stop performing and start being. And slowly, the pieces you once clung to, titles, labels, roles, become less important than the truth beating inside you. When your identity breaks, what remains is your essence, your values, your heart, your soul. You stop chasing who you were supposed to be and start embracing who you are meant to be. It's not always a graceful journey. Becoming authentic often means standing alone. It means saying no to what you used to say yes to. It means disappointing others to stay true to yourself. But the reward, it's freedom. It's peace. It's the ability to walk through life not as a performance, but as a presence. When identity breaks, authenticity emerges. And once you taste the power of being fully yourself, you'll never want to go back to pretending. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone, but from feeling unseen. We can be surrounded by people and still feel like no one truly knows us. We can laugh in crowds and cry in silence. And for many, the world becomes a place where hiding feels safer than hoping. But then something happens. A breakdown. A moment when we can no longer hold it in. The mask slips, the truth spills, the tears come. And in that raw, vulnerable moment, something shifts. A hand reaches out. A voice says, "Me too." A connection forms, not because you were strong, but because you were real. Isolation breaks when we stop pretending. When we finally admit, "I'm struggling." When we allow others to see our weakness, not just our wins. When we let down our guard, not for sympathy, but for connection. You see, the illusion of separation is strong. We think no one will understand, that we're too damaged, too different, too far gone. But the truth is, pain is universal, and so is the need to be seen. When your isolation breaks, you begin to realize that others aren't as put together as they appear. Behind every smile is a story. Behind every person is a battle you can't see. We stop comparing and start connecting. We stop saying "I'm fine" when we're not. We start having conversations that matter. We find safe spaces and safe people, not perfect, but present. You realize that strength isn't found in going it alone. It's found in letting someone walk with you. It's found in community, in vulnerability, in shared humanity. And sometimes the most powerful healing doesn't come from fixing your problems, it comes from simply not facing them alone. Connection is the antidote to isolation, and it often begins in the breaking, when you're no longer able to keep up the act, when your walls crumble and your truth comes forward. That's when someone else recognizes themselves in you. Suddenly, your story becomes someone else's survival guide. Your openness becomes their permission. Your presence becomes their healing. So, if isolation has broken you, take heart. That breaking might be the bridge that leads you back, not to the crowd but to your people, to those who love the real you, not the curated version, to those who meet you not at your best, but at your most honest. Because it's in our breaking that we stop hiding and in our honesty that we start belonging. We live in a world addicted to speed. We want answers now, success now, healing now. We expect life to move on our schedule, to bend to our desires and obey our clocks. But time doesn't work that way. And when it breaks, when the waiting stretches longer than we ever imagined, when the timeline collapses and the plan falls apart, we're forced into something we never asked for. Patience, and at first, patience feels like punishment. We ask, why is it taking so long? Why haven't I arrived? Why is everyone else moving ahead while I feel stuck? But in the stillness of the waiting, a quiet miracle begins. Because patience isn't just about enduring delay, it's about growing through it. It's in the breaking of time, in the agonizing space between what was and what's next, that we are refined. You see, delay is not denial, it's development. Every tree takes time to root before it rises. Every diamond is formed through pressure and waiting. And the strongest people you'll ever meet, they've sat in seasons where nothing made sense and they stayed. They trusted. They endured. Waiting stretches your spirit. It reveals how much you've been relying on outcomes instead of presence. It teaches you that real peace isn't found when everything aligns, but when nothing does. And you're still standing. When time breaks, impatience is shattered, and in its place, endurance, resilience, faith, because there are things you can't learn in motion. Some growth only happens in the pause. Some breakthroughs only come after the breakdown. Some answers only emerge in the silence of time, not because you weren't ready to receive, but because the moment wasn't ready to reveal. Patience isn't passive. It's a fierce trust, a quiet fight, a choice to believe, even when you can't see. And in that choosing, you discover strength you never knew you had. The strength to rest, to wait, to believe again. So, when time breaks, when the plan derails, when the path slows, don't curse it. Sit with it. Let it shape you. Because what patience builds is not just a better outcome, but a deeper, wiser, steadier you. There comes a moment in every life where we are brought to the edge of ourselves, when everything we thought we knew no longer works, when our strength runs out, when our identity fades, when we've tried everything, fought, pushed, prayed, planned, and still we're met with silence or struggle. This is the breaking of self. It's the most terrifying breaking of all, because it feels like the undoing of everything. It feels like falling into a void with no guarantee of return. It feels like death, not of the body, but of the ego. But in this sacred breaking, something far greater is revealed. The soul. The soul is who you were before the world told you who to be. It is the purest, most eternal part of you, the part that cannot be broken because it was never built. When the self breaks, the false self, the curated self, the performative self, what emerges is not weakness, but essence. The soul doesn't care about titles. It doesn't crave applause. It doesn't panic when plans fail or people leave. The soul is steady, still, eternal, and it only surfaces when everything else fades. This is why so many people don't find their soul until life shatters them, until the identity is lost, until the dreams collapse, until the pride is stripped and the comfort is gone. Only then, when the self is broken, can the soul speak. And what it says is different from anything you've heard before. It doesn't say, try harder. It says, be still. It doesn't say, fix everything. It says, feel everything. It doesn't say, earn your worth. It says, you've always been worthy. The soul doesn't strive. It simply is. And it has been waiting beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the expectations for you to remember. This breaking is painful because it is sacred. You are not being destroyed, you are being revealed. You are not losing yourself, you are finding the part that was always true. The world doesn't teach us to live from the soul. It teaches us to perform, to hustle, to impress. But none of that lasts. Only the soul does. So when the self breaks, when everything you thought defined you is stripped away, don't panic. That is the moment you meet yourself, not the version shaped by the world, but the one shaped by eternity. And in that meeting, you discover something stunning, that you never had to prove yourself. You only had to return to yourself.